Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm Masa Ishida, President and CEO of Spacetide Foundation. I'm from the private sector. So I'm also serving to a Japanese government program, Space Strategy Fund, as program director, responsible for the overall management of the fund. So today, I'd like to share my perspectives on as observation industry in the Asia-Pacific region. Before jumping into my presentation, let me briefly introduce our foundation. We are a Japan-based nonprofit organization founded in 2015. So our vision is unlocking space for all humanity. We aim to create a future where space transforms every aspect of society and industry, where everyone can benefit from space-related services. To achieve this goal, we act as a neutral industry hub, addressing common challenges for the space industry. In the EARSC, we launched the Space Industry Workshop together with GISTDA in 2019, and we have contributed it as a planning collaborator. Since 2021, it has become an official program of EARSC, and the purpose of this Space Industry Workshop is to expand EARSC community traditionally centered around on government agency to the private sector, and to accelerate public-private partnership in the APAC region. Last year, it was held in Perth, Australia, attended by 200 participants. Oh, sorry, again. Yes. So the Space Industry Workshop has worked as a venue to accelerate public-private partnership in the APAC region. So we discussed common challenges facing the APAC space industry. We also accelerate public-private dialogue through various discussion formats. And also, we promote new space business players and satellite applications. Okay, so based on this experience, so I'd like to share my perspective on the APAC region. I understand today's forecast Southeast Asia, ASEAN. However, let me talk about the APAC region. That's our footprint. You know, the APAC region has a significant growth potential. Compared to other regions, its economic growth rate is higher. 3 billion people live here. And you know, diversity is one of the characteristics of this region. Different countries having diverse social, historical, and cultural foundation to the space industry development. And strong interest for the space industry is also a unique aspect of the APAC region. In this region, many countries have been implementing a variety of measures to support commercial space activities over the past 10 years. So for example, in Japan, where I live, the government has been accelerating various commercial space policy over the past decade, including 3 space-related acts, and also our government launched Space Strategy Fund. This is a vital policy initiative aimed at promoting private sector technology development with $7 billion over the next 10 years. In the future, we can see multiple development scenarios for the APAC space industry. So first scenario would be a traditional space industry development led by National Space Agency, Defense Agency, and also established large corporations. Second scenarios can be a private-led space industry development. And the third one is satellite as a vital enabler scenarios. In these scenarios, various terrestrial industries will be driving industry growth. Let me talk about the APAC space startup. You know, there are about 5,000 or 6,000 space startups engaged in a wide range of space business worldwide. However, the number of APAC space startups has also increased with a strong focus on the satellite economy. The largest number of space startups in satellite data utilization, where small satellite constellations are transforming and revolutionizing the business value chain. And the second category is a launch service. On the other hand, new frontiers like in-orbit services, human spaceflight, and space exploration and mining are still a limited number of space startups. So let me talk about the satellite economy. As many people, many speakers already mentioned today, we can see various socioeconomic challenges facing humanity. This region is facing a variety of challenges, such as climate change, poverty, digital divide, and also natural disasters. Satellite economy can and should contribute more to solving these challenges. Especially, satellite imagery have been utilized in various sectors, and recently, geospatial analysis can help visualize and solve many socioeconomic challenges. Many private companies are providing actionable, evidence-based intelligence by fusing satellite imagery with other cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So as such, APAC satellite economy is full of many possibilities. However, we are facing a variety of challenges as well. Through previous space industry workshop, we identified 7 common challenges to private sector growth in this region, such as talent and workforce development, space awareness, technological advancement, demand creation, collaboration, policy, and finally, environment and space sustainability. Especially in the APAC satellite sector, 3 common challenges have been highlighted in the past discussions. First is market creation. The size of the domestic market demand is too small to sustain the satellite business in each single country, so we need to accelerate the international collaboration. It's also difficult to expand the commercial application outside of the space industry. Second is about talent and workforce development. It's difficult to retain graduates in the space industry due to the lack of job prospect and viable career paths. And also, the lack of space startups, prime contractor, or even supply chain resulting in the low competitiveness and dependency on advanced countries. Third is about space awareness. As we discussed today, we need to have politicians, investors, industry leaders outside of the space industry to understand more about the benefit of satellite economy. And lastly, investment for technology development and business development is still heavily relied on governmental support. To address these challenges, we can see a variety of collaboration and partnership opportunities between the APAC region and other regions. To create demanded market, we can work together to promote satellite data utilization by governmental agency and local authority as customers, establishing Earth observation data platform that can connect countries and foster cross-border collaboration will be driving force in this region. Using the space-driven data and artificial intelligence for rapid decision-making for terrestrial industry. To enhance talent and workforce development, industry-sponsored scholarship and internship will be required to complement existing government capacity buildings. And also, the APAC region and other regions need to collaborate each other to build technologies and human capability together as equal partners, not customers. Launching a cross-regional acceleration program to support ambitious entrepreneurs can also be an area of international collaboration. And thirdly, to increase the space awareness and investment, we can work together to quantify the space industry impact on broader government objectives in this region. It's also important to evolve financial scheme through co-funding scheme led by government agency and also the collaboration with finance and insurance sector for risk mitigation and industry growth. And particularly, I would emphasize we need to work together to accelerate the collaboration with terrestrial industry because they see satellite technology as an enabler to create many kinds of value in the digital age. There's a limit what the space industry can do on its own. However, through the collaboration with various terrestrial industries, satellite industry, satellite economy can make a larger impact on society. An open, reliable, collaborative industry architecture should be designed so that terrestrial industry can participate more into the satellite economy. And lastly, as I mentioned, satellite economy in this region is full of many possibilities. However, long-standing challenge remains user adoption. Cost and usability are key obstacle for broader adoption by industries and individuals. This industry is still heavily reliant on governmental demand. So as customer needs grow beyond government, as observation industry will become an even more vital industry for humanity. Okay, so I'd like to wrap up my talk. So if you are interested in learning more about current status and common challenges facing the APAC space industry, please reach out to our corporate website to download our industry report for free from QR code shown here. Yes, thank you for. And one more final information. As I mentioned, we have been co-hosting space industry workshop over the past 5 or 6 years in the EARSC. This initiative are evolving and relaunching from this year as Space Industry Connect. So this new initiative focuses more on business-to-business matching and business-to-government matching in this region. So over 100 participants already registered. So if you are interested in, it will take place on this Thursday. So please register from QR code. Thank you very much for paying attention.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll ask my 3 panelists to please come on stage. I'm used to user engagement is usually the last work package in large projects. So in most review meetings, we're told, you have no time, the whole thing has been canceled, we'll read your report. So we'll nevertheless, please, the panelists. I'd like first and foremost to say, as someone who's been defending gender equality and inclusivity for a very long time, I'm particularly pleased, to see so many ladies in the room, and to be moderating an anti-manel. I don't know how you call an anti-manel, but so happy to have 3 young ladies with me here today. So immediately pass on the mic to Ms. Giselle Zhao, who's Planning Officer at the Planning and Project Management Division at PhilSA. And my first question to her will be, how does PhilSA support private sector engagement in Earth observation? And what are the main challenges that you're meeting in that endeavor?
So, of course, PhilSA wants to create an environment in the Philippines for the private sector to be confident in participating in. So the domestic space economy is being crafted based on 3 strategies or 3 essentially guide thoughts that we want to do. First is we are developing investment-ready projects. So take note of the investment. So it would require private partners. Second is we're strengthening or optimizing the policy frameworks that we actually already have in place. And then the third is we continue to cultivate innovation initiatives in the pipeline. So the first one, right now we see that projects, our future missions are the platform for this, a platform for industry partners to participate in. So we try to form structures based on the PPP partnership. In fact, it's already published in our website, the list of projects that the private sector can participate in. So making those projects feasible is one of the goals that we're doing. The second one that I mentioned, strengthening or optimizing the policies that we have. It's very timely that the Philippine Space Act or agency was created because the other policies that's supporting it is already in place, like the PDP, the SRDP, the Create More about the taxes and incentivizing the private partners. So PhilSA is very proactive in engaging to the government agencies, our partners, so that we could translate these policies to really value for the private actors. And then the last one is the cultivation of pipeline. We continue to produce projects that is not slightly leaning towards producing commercial outputs. Of course, we do have R&D, but we're more leaning into that type of projects. And the challenges that we're encountering, I think some of the speakers already touched on some of this. First is infrastructure, because of course, even if EO data is available, it would still require computing power, and some of the private entities here in the country, the domestic entities that are here, are not able to establish those infrastructure. The second challenge is having the capacity to analyze this data, so the capability to really process this, the talent, the necessary skills is also sort of still absent, but PhilSA is doing our best to really spread out the learnings that we have on analyzing this spaceborne data.
Thank you. In fact, we see it at the European Association of Remote Sensing Companies. We have private sector is not something monolithic. There's very large companies. There are non-EO companies that start working in EO ones that grow. But there's also the entire, and we'll talk about that later in this panel, there's also the startups, the very SMEs. What measures do you have in place, if any, at PhilSA to ensure that those new players with no experience, I mean, industry in general needs what we call anchor tenancy. We need government, public procurers to buy from us, so then we can use that as a reference in selling on the market, on the business-to-business market. So what is it that you do for startups?
Actually, you're right on the point, because PhilSA is actually focusing on demand-driven EO services. So we try to prioritize, because not everything should be pursued. So we do understand that the startups would have to prioritize the government operational processes, the services that the government wants to deliver. For example, it was mentioned a while ago, the climate resilience, disaster management, and very recently, PhilSA is also tapped to do monitoring of the infrastructure projects. So we try to bridge the startup solutions, the EO solutions that they produce, to the appropriate government agency. So as you can see, PhilSA is really multi-function kind of agency. We do the business incubation, we do the R&D, we do the industry development, we do the national security. So yeah, I think that's what PhilSA is doing.
Thank you, Giselle. Now let's move to more the implementation of co-organised. We have Marion Sutton from French company CLS, and CLS is leading the consortium which is co-developing co-designing and developing with local partners the various co-organised pilot services. And I want to ask her, what have been the main lessons learned from this co-development approach, co-creation approach that you've been implementing since the beginning in developing these services?
Thank you for the question. So there was many lessons learned, I think, from the 2 years of implementation of co-organised. So I'll have to go to the main points. I think it's very important to understand why we did this co-development activity. It was because we want to make sure to engage the user with us and to engage the final user after the end of the project, because the project is going to be 2 years or 3 years implementation, and the objective is that what we'll be co-developing with the different agencies will last long after we're gone. So we need to make sure that the stakeholders that we've been working on are engaged from the start of the development. So what I can say also is we initially started by discussing with our key partners, were PhilSA and DOST. But very soon at the beginning of the project, we also went to the other national agencies, the different government agencies that have mandates on operational restitution or operational services using EO data. And this is with all of them that we've been building, co-creating, and co-learning. I think it was really like a two sideways interaction. We learned also a lot, and there was a lot of interesting collaboration and discussion with all these activities of co-development that we had regularly all over the time of the development. Yeah, and finally, I just wanted to say, beside the government agencies and our main partners, we also worked a lot with the universities, and this was mentioned also already today, but of course universities don't have the mandate to be operational, but they have the creativity and they have they're eager to share the last research, and they're very fruitful, and they bring a lot of value also in the development that we've been doing in COPFIL.
Marion, how do you think that this collaborative model can be not exported, but replicated, extended within the Scope Digital project to Indonesia and Thailand?
I think, again, from this lesson learned, we saw what worked and what did not work. So it's very valuable also to have this analysis after these 2 years of implementation. So I think part of it we can replicate, as you said. The extension or expansion would be to reuse part of the methodology that worked. So again, engaging the national agencies, the different operational agencies worked really well. Engaging the universities worked really well. So this we need to continue. But I think we also need to adapt because now we're going to work with different countries. So we've been working and learning a lot with the Philippines, but now with Thailand and Indonesia, we'll meet different people, different culture, different way of using the data and approaching the data. So we need to adapt. And I think also, despite this adaptation that we will work together with them, we maybe also should take this opportunity to go one step forward in the collaboration, because in COPFIL we were working with the Philippines, so collaborating between EU and the Philippines. Now we have 2 new actors that are actually coming into the game, Thailand and Indonesia, so it can be bilateral collaboration from Europe, Indonesia, Europe, Thailand. But I think the strength of this new step is also to try to foster the regional collaboration. And COPFIL can really help to support this different collaboration between the 3 countries that we have now, through agencies, but also through universities. And I think for having discussed with people from the Philippines, they are very enthusiastic about this new step, and everyone is very happy to collaborate. And even if, and maybe just last thing, because we talk about Europe, and Europe is the same. I mean, it's the part of different countries, and different countries that collaborate together, but it's not always easy. I mean, you always have like your own country trying sometimes to do the first for its own country, but it's always, you have better to win than to lose, that try to collaborate between the 2 different countries. So I think this would be the way to replicate and go one step forward in the adaptation.
And the other thing is, we've seen that the industry and the vast majority of the in numbers, the larger number of companies are startups or small consultancies we as an industry have realized the time where we come to Thailand and sign a contract and then go back is over.
Hello, my name is Alice Guibert and I'm Space Project Manager at Expertise France, the French public agency for international development cooperation. A year ago, we were in Manila to co-organize with PhilSA and the European Union the very first Copernicus for Businesses event. The objective was to showcase the potential of Copernicus for local companies and to demystify the complexity of Earth observation. After this event, many Filipino innovators show strong interest in applying EO to their own areas of work. But they all had the same questions. Where do I start? Where do I get the data? How do I integrate them within my own business case? So we knew we had to create a pathway to help them to move from interest to action. And this is exactly why we designed the Innovate with EU Space Data coaching program. This initiative is financed by the European Commission under the Global Gateway Strategy within the principle of connecting goods, people, and services around the world in a sustainable way. In this context, our goal was twofold. First, helping non-space companies to explore how Copernicus data could open new avenues for innovation and support the development of EU services for resilience. Second, we wanted to strengthen the technical dialogue between the Philippines and Europe by connecting Filipino companies with top-level experts from the European space value chain. With this objective in mind, we launched an open call for proposals. We received 12 applications from companies of all sizes, and we selected 5 of them to embark on a 4-month mentoring program. Given the limited time frame, the goal was not to support the development of fully operational products, but rather to help the companies to explore technical opportunities and identify concrete use cases where Copernicus data could really bring value. Our method was quite simple. Each company received 10 hours of individualized support with a dedicated mentor and an access to a pool of European experts covering broad areas such as EU data processing, application domains, service designs, or market fits. By the end of the mentoring phase, each company had consolidated the feasibility assessment and defined clear next steps towards mature solutions. A major strength of this program was our partnerships with PhilSA. From the very beginning, their support was essential, not only to ensure alignment with Philippines' priority, but also to provide technical guidance and contribute to the quality review of the projects. As the program ended a few weeks ago now, we are particularly proud of the companies we have supported. They have shown remarkable creativity in imagining how Copernicus could enhance their services, and they have made significant progress too in defining meaningful use cases. Today, one of these companies is with you to share its experience, and we are delighted to welcome WiredField. We warmly congratulate them for their successful journey, which is a clear illustration of the potential that emerges when local innovation meets the opportunities offered by EU space data. WiredField is part of the pioneers showing what is possible, and it's a great example of the successful partnerships within Europe and the Philippines. With the COPFIL now growing as a key regional asset, we're convinced that many more companies across Southeast Asia will follow this lead in the years to come. Thanks a lot for your attention.
We are a disaster technology startup building smart city solutions using emerging technologies such as IoT, AI, and citizen science, and now added with Earth observation or satellite data.
Thank you. So how can, in your view, considering your experience in this rather condensed in time program of mentorship, what can initiatives such as Innovate with Space Data, how can they strengthen, or what have they done to strengthen your own entrepreneurship skills and the overall development of a new generation of space entrepreneurs and Earth observation entrepreneurs in the Philippines and in the wider region?
All right, thanks for that question. So I want to stick to my talking points. And before I answer that, let me give a quick background. Our company started by focusing on emergency response. We connect residential IoT devices like smoke sensors, SOS buttons, and CCTV cameras to the emergency responders or the city command centers. And as we work with more cities, they began asking for disaster solutions, especially risk assessments, hyperlocal early warning systems, and local climate forecasting. And that pushed us to expand from emergency response to full disaster intelligence solutions. And we realized that Earth observation could fill in the data gaps that we're seeing on the ground. But Earth observation is very highly scientific, and we didn't have hydrologists, meteorologists, or remote sensing experts in the team. So fortunately, we were funded by the Department of Science and Technology, and one of our activities was to explore satellite data and for early warning systems. But the portion for the budget meant for hiring an expert was actually removed. So we had no way to bring in the scientific support that we needed. And luckily, I saw the call for Innovate with EU space data on LinkedIn. And I thought, ooh, what a coincidence. So I applied. And our goal was to gain technical support and a validation on how Copernicus data can actually strengthen our mission to build smarter, safer, and more resilient communities in the Philippines. So startups like ours, we don't start with technology and then try to find a use for it, right? So we start with a real problem. We solve it and then look for the best tools available to deliver that solution. And initiatives like the Innovate with space data strengthen the entrepreneurial pipeline by giving startups access to the scientific expertise that startups don't normally have. So most Earth observation experts in the Philippines are in the academe and focus on long-term research. So while startups like ours work at the last mile, working really fast, building real tools and solutions that our customers would actually use. So the mentorship helped bridge that gap. It showed us how to use Copernicus data properly and what's technically possible. So the mentorship also exposes to existing global solutions and the current Earth observation landscape, so we could differentiate and plan for expansion or to scale globally. So programs like this don't just provide technical capacity, it helps create the right conditions for Earth observation innovation to grow by helping small, fast-moving teams build solutions that are scientifically grounded, operationally useful, and ready for real-world impact.
Thank you, Christina. Last question. What do you need next? What is it you still don't have and need?
Right. So I think what's always needed by the startup community would be the technical support. We need access to Earth observation scientists, the pre-processed data, and the tools, and of course, the knowledge sharing and the best practices so that we can use the satellite data correctly. Second would be financial support, because funding, we need funding because we need to run the pilots so that we can actually validate the models that we are having, and this is not, this requires a lot of funding, and that's actually what most startups don't have, funding, right? But they can definitely move fast and have this access to the customers to actually create a marketable product. And then we would require institutional support. There has to be a clear pathway and supportive policies, right, that allow startups to work with the government agencies and integrate Earth observation tools into real operations, right? Because it is actually more complicated than that, especially working with the government and forcing them to use the solutions that we're building, right? And which leads to the public and private partnerships. So the thing is, government should support the infrastructure, right? So startups can turn into fast, user-friendly last milestone solutions, right? And finally, I would say IP support. Yeah, because startups need safe spaces where we can share ideas without worrying that larger companies with far greater resources would actually quickly replicate the work that we did with long R&D, and just as a snap, all of a sudden there's a big company now with government contract, and everything that we've built is no longer relevant.
Further funds would be allocated by the European Union to European Commission to be implemented by ESA to develop new projects in the region. There are also new things coming up because we know hackathon, accelerator, incubator, etc. It's a stage thing. So I guess you can get ready for things to come in the short-term future. First point. Second point, Copernicus has a local phone number. It's COPFIL in the Philippines. There's also the entire Copernicus support office in Brussels that is at the disposal not only of your startup, but of the entire community. It will go one step further within COPFIL. Also, as European Association of Remote Sensing Companies, we are prepared to organize exchanges. It's just a matter of reaching out to us because we know similar cases, etc. So I think the sky is the limit. And as I'm getting signs that our time is over, I'll have to stop and ask Gwen to give the final remarks for this very busy day.
But we saw it's a commitment, a statement that Europe and Southeast Asia are ready to learn together, build together, and scale impact together. And we saw throughout the day that Earth observation only becomes powerful when data meets people, partnerships, and purpose. Session 1 reminded us of something essential. Regional collaboration is no longer a nice to have, but it's the foundation for real adoption of Earth observation. Shared standards and coordination unlock institutional uptake. Trust across borders accelerates progress. And we are beyond the stage of questioning potential. Collaboration among partners and regional players is already moving, already innovating. The task is now scaling, not just starting. So session 2 took us deeper into innovation and talent, and the message was crystal clear. Earth observation only has value when it improves lives on the ground. And to get there, 3 ingredients stood out. First, partnerships, connecting research, policy, and communities. Second, capacity building, making sure that the next generation is not just trained, but empowered. And third, cross-regional collaboration. Europe and regional partnerships don't duplicate each other's strengths. They multiply them. And we also heard something really powerful today. Youth and startups aren't the future. They are the present engine of innovation. A theme that tied everything together across every speech and every panel I heard is that, again and again, Earth observation is not about satellites, it's about people. It is about farmers adapting to climate risk, governments planning resilient cities, and responders preparing for natural hazards. It's about giving communities the information to protect what matters most. Technology enables progress, collaborations create impact. And looking ahead, Scope Digital is now a living platform. It will grow only if we engage, contribute, and stay connected. So what happens after today matters. How we share knowledge, how we bring students and innovators into the ecosystem, how we fund and co-create, and how we ensure services reach communities. The momentum is already here, and today that we have this expertise, the energy, and the collective will to make it count. Thank you very much. So on behalf of the organizers, partners, I would like to thank as well all our speakers and panelists, our moderators and facilitators, all participating institutions, and to every one of you here with your reflections which showed the pulse of this community. And last but not the least, to the D4D Hub and the Also Space teams for the excellent organization and coordination in making this event a success. Let's continue turning Earth observation data into knowledge, knowledge into action, and action into meaningful change for our regions, our communities. And thank you once again, and we look forward to continuing this journey with you.